Hello and welcome to Indus News Live from Islamabad. I'm Hira Mustafa and these are the headlines. Haiti has requested the US and the UN to send troops to protect key infrastructure after President Jovenel Moïse's assassination. While a UN spokesperson said troops dispatch is a matter for the Security Council to decide, the US says it has no plans to offer military assistance at this time. However, it will send senior FBI and Homeland Security officials to assist in the ongoing investigations. Russia has slammed the U.S. decision to blacklist its companies, terming Washington's move as confrontational. Russia's ambassador Anatoly Antonov says such actions contradict U.S. statements about the need to normalize bilateral ties. In a statement, Antonov said Washington did not give any specifics of violations by Russian companies. Brazil has reported more than 1,500 COVID-19 daily deaths, while the country's caseload crossed the 19 million mark. In Pakistan, 35 people lost their lives and more than 1,800 tested positive overnight. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 4 million lives and has infected nearly 186 million others. Germany says all members of G20 back a deal to stop multinationals from shifting profits to low-tax havens. Talking to media alongside U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, Germany's Finance Minister Olaf Scholz said the club made big progress on reforming business tax, while Yellen said she will work to address the concerns of holdout countries. Well, those were the headlines. News in detail coming after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now the news in detail. Haiti has requested the US and the UN to send troops to protect key infrastructure after President Jovenel Moïse's assassination. The bizarre murder has pushed Haiti deeper into a political crisis, which may worsen growing hunger and gang violence. Elections Minister Matthias Pierce says critical infrastructure, including airports and ports, might be targeted. Pierce said the security assistance will also ensure timely presidential and legislative elections. They are scheduled for 26th of September. In response to the request, a UN spokesperson said troops dispatch is a matter for the Security Council to decide. Meanwhile, the US says it has no plans to offer military assistance at this time. However, it will send senior FBI and Homeland Security officials to assist in the ongoing investigations. Russia says the U.S. decision to blacklist its companies is a confrontational move. Moscow says such actions contradict U.S. statements about the need to normalize bilateral relations. Russia's ambassador said the U.S. is restricting the access of domestic enterprises to high-precision technologies from abroad. In a statement, Anatoly Antonov said Washington did not give any specifics of violations by Russian companies. He said Washington, as usual, accused firms of buying electronic components from the U.S. for Russian military programs. Antonov added this approach does not stand up to scrutiny. Earlier, the U.S. Department of Commerce added Russian individuals and firms to its blacklist. The department said its action followed attempts to procure items for activities contrary to national security. Ukraine says hackers linked to the Russian government attacked the website of its naval forces. In a statement, the Defense Ministry said the hackers published fake reports about the Sea Breeze 2021 military drills. It said there have also been unsuccessful denial of service attacks on the Defense Ministry portal. The ministry said the entire Kremlin propaganda machine was involved in the operation. It said the threat has now been eliminated and the Navy's website will be restored in the near future. Moscow opposed the exercises in the Black Sea that Kiev started in late June, involving more than 30 countries. In Afghanistan, 4 civilians have been killed in 2 separate explosions in Kabul and Kandahar provinces. Police said 2 civilians were killed and 4 injured in a blast in Kabul's District 8. They said 2 people were killed in a blast in Daman district of Kandahar. The police said 3 others were injured, including 2 police officers. Meanwhile, the Taliban claimed they have captured 3 more districts in Parwan and Laghman provinces. Earlier on Twitter, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin urged international pressure to resolve the Afghanistan conflict. Turkey says it has agreed with the U.S. on the scope of how to secure Kabul airport after Washington withdraws from Afghanistan. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan says Turkish and American defense chiefs have discussed the issue. He said during discussions with America and NATO authorities, Ankara has also decided on what would be acceptable for Turkey. Turkey promised to provide security for the airport once the troops leave next month. Kabul airport is the main exit route for Western diplomats and aid workers. Earlier, the Afghan government said it will extend necessary support to Turkey's mission at Hamid Karzai Airport. Brazil has reported more than 1,500 COVID-19 daily deaths, while the country's caseload crossed the 19 million mark. Globally, the virus has claimed more than 4 million lives and has infected nearly 186 million others. More in this report. Just a day after the World Health Organization announced that the worst of coronavirus pandemic is over for many countries, a panel of experts has told G20 that COVID-19 is probably only a forerunner of increasingly dangerous pandemics in the future. The panel said the governments need $75 billion over the next 5 years to prepare for them. Meanwhile, South Korea has posted the highest ever number of overnight infections for a 3rd consecutive day. Australia's New South Wales state also reported its biggest daily rise in locally acquired cases this year. Authorities have warned that the worst is yet to come for Sydney, which is in a 3-week hard lockdown.
Last night to 8 p.m. we had 50 cases of community transmission, and most concerningly, 26 of those were infectious in the community. Now that's the number we need to get down to as close as 0 as possible. And when you know that there's 26 cases that were infectious in the community, the only conclusion we can draw is that things are going to get worse before they get better.
In Europe, the money-making summer season is in jeopardy for the 2nd year in a row as Delta variant sweeps across the continent. Spain's Canary Islands and its Mediterranean region of Valencia have asked the government to bring back curfews to counter soaring cases. The Netherlands has again tightened curbs due to surging infections as Delta variant accounts for at least 1/3 of new cases. While in Greece, a metalworking company is offering workers nearly $600 to get vaccinated.
Clearly, there are a number of people, as in the general population, that have not been convinced yet about the benefits of being vaccinated. That percentage, because we had to measure it, we saw it about 40%. We thought that by rewarding all those who were responsible, we could build on a trend among those who were more indifferent and change their minds.
The EU, the US, and several European states have signed an accord in Senegal to finance vaccine production in the West African state. Meanwhile, Arab countries promised to help Tunisia as it recorded the highest daily death toll, putting its healthcare system under severe stress. While in India, health authorities have warned that tourist flaunting the social distancing rules can cause a more dangerous 3rd wave. Pakistan has reported 35 deaths from COVID-19 and more than 1,800 infections overnight. The Health Ministry says the national death tally has reached 22,555. The ministry said there are over 36,000 active cases, of which more than 2,000 are critical. The caseload has exceeded 971,000, out of which more than 912,000 people have recovered. According to the NCOC, Pakistan has administered over 19 million vaccine doses to date. Earlier, authorities said unvaccinated people will not be allowed to travel by air from August 1st. In Nigeria, militants have killed at least 45 people in an attack on the northwestern town of Faru. Residents say their armed bandits stormed the town on motorbikes, shooting sporadically on people. Militant attacks are surging across the Sahel, killing thousands and displacing millions across region's 10 states. Earlier, France announced to withdraw more than 2,000 troops from an anti-extremism force in Sahel by early next year. French President Emmanuel Macron said Paris will close all military bases in the Sahel region by 2022. He said France will begin reconfiguring its military presence in the coming weeks and will pivot it to be specialized forces instead. In Argentina, hundreds of protesters hit the streets of the capital, Buenos Aires, against the government on Independence Day. This comes as the South American country reels from a flailing economy made worse by the pandemic. The demonstrators expressed their discontent with President Alberto Fernandez and his policies. They called for better representation, improved wages, and employment opportunities. According to the UN data, Argentina's health crisis is expected to drive millions of people into poverty.
Estamos por nuestra patria.
We are here for our homeland, for freedom, for the crop to get out so that our children don't have to leave the country. That is what we want. And we want to live in peace with the government that thinks of the homeland, that thinks of our wages of employment.
Meanwhile, hundreds of farmers protested against the government's measure to limit exports on some beef cuts. And now moving on. The UN Security Council has extended a cross-border aid operation into Syria from Turkey. This comes after Russia agreed to a compromise in talks with the US, ensuring UN aid to millions of Syrians for 12 months. The 15-member council unanimously adopted a compromise resolution that asked for a UN report on Syria aid access in 6 months. Diplomats say the resolution does not require another vote in January to again extend the operation. The Council first authorized a cross-border aid operation into Syria in 2014 at 4 points. Last year, it reduced the operation to 1 point from Turkey due to Russian and Chinese opposition over renewing all 4. In Nepal, floods triggered by heavy rains have paralyzed normal life in Bhaktapur city. Many roads remain submerged, causing inconvenience to people. Authorities said water entered several areas and is affecting the movement of people. They said in less than a month, landslides and flash floods have killed at least 51 people. Heavy rains have damaged roads, destroyed bridges, washed away fish farms and livestock, and wrecked homes. Meanwhile, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli arrived in flood and landslide-ravaged central Bagmati province for observation. In the U.S., tropical storm Elsa has dumped rain and heavy wind as it moved into the northeast. However, it has now been designated from a tropical storm to a post-tropical cyclone. Rough surf battered the shore from New Jersey to Massachusetts as the storm moved along the eastern coast. The National Hurricane Center said the storm's maximum sustained wind slowed to 85 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, the western states are bracing for more scorching weather this weekend after the hottest month of June. The National Weather Service has issued an excessive heat warning for much of the West. It has predicted dangerously hot conditions in multiple states, including California, where temperatures can soar up to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. A Northern California wildfire has also prompted Nevada authorities to evacuate a border area community. 3 billionaires Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Richard Branson are vying to lead a new era of private commercial space travel. More about the billionaire space race in this report. Branson's Virgin Galactic is set to send a passenger rocket plane on its first fully crewed test flight to the edge of space on the 11th of July. The British billionaire founder is also scheduled to go along for the ride aboard the VSS Unity with 5 other individuals. Meanwhile, Bezos is also set to fly on his company, Blue Origin suborbital rocket ship later this month, but Marco Casares, a senior space analyst, has called both the Branson and Bezos ride-alongs publicity stunts.
Branson has been trying to do this for the last 10 years, and he's had numerous delays, technical delays. He had one accident back in 2014 in which one of the pilots was killed. And so I think he's 70 years old. I think he wants to see his venture succeed, and I think by going up himself, it's a bit of a publicity stunt to some degree, and probably the same thing with Bezos.
Virgin Galactic, Blue Origin, and Musk SpaceX are competing head-to-head. But Casares says SpaceX is way out ahead, with ambitions far beyond the few minutes of weightlessness the other two are offering.
And we have liftoff. Go New Shepard.
In many ways, Musk has already won it because he has launched countless missions over the last 5 to 6 years. I believe in the last few years he's been launching more than 20 missions to Earth orbit, not low Earth, not suborbit. And I believe he's planning to launch up to 40 missions just this year alone. So in terms of the race to Earth orbit, by far, he's the winner.
An earlier prototype of the Virgin Galactic rocket plane crashed during a test flight in 2014, killing one pilot and injuring another. Casares believes that while a failure on Branson's part could set back the space tourism industry, its success could accelerate it. More news stories coming up after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Germany says all members of G20 back a deal to stop multinationals from shifting profits to low-tax havens. The global tax reform deal would also impose a minimum levy on multinational corporations. Talking to media alongside U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, Germany's finance minister Olaf Scholz said the club made big progress on reforming business tax, while Yellen said she will work to address the concerns of holdout countries. She said the deal would raise revenues by ending a race to the bottom, with countries competing to cut corporate tax rates. The secretary said it is not necessary for all states to sign the deal to make it effective, as it holds an enforcement mechanism. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development's tax deal has been agreed in principle by 131 countries. Now it's time to have a look at the weather update across the globe. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at indus.news.